What's going on, ladies and gents? It's your favorite YouTuber Neg96 coming out with a brand new strategy guide yet again. This time I'll be touching up on this marvelous game called Grand Ages Medieval. Shout out to everyone staying tuned. Show the channel some support by hitting that red subscribe button. This video will be showcasing everything. We all want to be that powerful and unstoppable benevolent ruler in this game, so I'll be showing you exactly how to do that. I'll be touching up on a variety of economic strategies having to do with trade routes, support townships, proper resources based on geolocation, competitor relations, and how to build a strong military for war. I'll also be touching up on some miscellaneous objectives like tips on how to find bandit camps and what we'll need to do if our population gets affected by this game's negative counters, such as drought, famine, wildfires, worker shortages, and low troop morale. Starting small and working on each individual town will allow us to grow. Our big picture goal in this game is to expand a sustainable economy and make thousands in residual income by the second. As you can see, I've cultivated dozens of towns and cities in both Byzantium and Italy. Starting off, the game grants us our very first village along with a startup money balance. Upon going in, we immediately want to start beginning commodity production, so we will want to invest our startup balance into manufacturing. In Bursa, we manufacture wooden bricks for building resources, and we harvest fruit to feed our population, as well as grain and honey, which are considered cash crops and can be traded as is and used for production of further resources. Upon cultivating our towns, we must be able to identify the types of people that are available. Up top, we have the total population. This gives a general overview of how many inhabitants reside in the town. Just below, we have available townsfolk. These people can be trained into workers for the town. Just below this, we have current workers that are taking part of production. These workers are very necessary in order to continue resource production, as well as building new special units such as traders, settlers, builders, as well as your militia. The only way to add to your population is by developing more space by increasing resource production, as well as building housing settlements, which includes the chapel and the monastery. If you take a look, one of our negative counters displays a barrel. For resources that have a red exclamation mark along with the barrel, productions of these particular commodities have been halted, as no more of the stock can be held. In order to circumvent this, players must purchase the workshop, and a trader also needs to take some of that stock into neighbored towns. Now we're going to use the scout to find neighbored competitors we can enter in agreements with. This is very necessary as we need to trade their resources in order to grow our economy. Since my scout is visiting the town of Ankara, I can engage in direct communication with the town mayor. Over here is where I offer gold in exchange for access to the settlement. The first transit agreement allows us passage to the town. We can use the builder to construct roads to the town. The second trade agreement grants safe passage to my traders. The traders can buy and sell stock in the settlement. The third and fourth agreements have to do with peace and military. Peace establishes guaranteed neutrality among all settlements procured by both competitors, while the military agreement grants us an ally in the case of enemy conflict in our shared territory space. As we continue to engage with competitors, there's a few affinity bonuses we need to be aware of. The first affinity is your commerce relationship with the particular town. This affinity can be increased simply by sending your own traders there. The more traders doing business in that town, the faster the affinity will increase. The second affinity is your diplomatic relationship with the competitor. This affinity can be increased by purchasing all agreements, as well as offering sympathy donation offerings. Having a high affinity in both fields will be very important for our dominion. Once we satisfy a competitor's requirements, the competitor will willingly cede over a town to our empire, provided we submit a good enough offer. Do note that we can only bargain with the individual towns that have a high commerce relationship.
You're asking for too much. Perhaps I should look for others to Good. I like your offer. Yep. Good. I like your offer.
Once the town gets ceded from your competitor, you will have had a successful diplomatic takeover. The town now completely changes to your control and you are free to start modifying it however you like. Continuing on our new empire, the trader is now ready to be made since we have ample workers. I'm now going to discover new neighboring towns and other loot and sites by removing fog on the map in the area I'm in. If you notice, the scout is incredibly fast when it comes to land navigation. However, he has no attack value. Therefore, it isn't recommended to engage in discovered sites due to the chance of attackers spawning in and putting our scout at risk. For the time being, we can only navigate within a certain radius of our built town. The boundaries of the map expands once more towns are built. Once you have a small handful of soldiers, you can run ground navigation with them while also battling enemies you come across. There's a lot of sites to be explored. Your adventurers can loot gold as well as commodities which will be sent and sold to the nearest town. Make a good habit with discovering the land you're in. This way you can now settle and build new towns in an area you're familiar with, along with strategically placing towns close to allied competitor towns for trade relations.
Get on. Get on. Let's go.
Another discovery you can make is finding hidden bandit camps. These settlements are very particular and aren't classified as ruins, windmills, or any other kinds of land sites. The bandit camps are their own thing. So long as you clear up fog in the map, you'll discover bandit camps. I recommend navigating around the map with a scout, then regrouping your militia close to the bandit camp that's been discovered so you can engage in a takeover. I didn't have enough manpower to take over the camp on this initial attempt, so I ended up losing this battle.
Won't be long now.
Once you have a strong horde of soldiers, you can successfully engage and take over the bandit camp.
Let's get to it.
Once a camp is cleared, a new one will not respawn in its place. You will need to discover further areas of the world in order to find new bandit camps. Another negative counter is what's referred to as worker shortage. This counter will be displayed if the town does not have enough workers to sustain productions. One thing that we need to be aware of is that increasing productions attracts more townsfolk and creates more space. However, they do not come right away. Upon making the new production, you will have to wait a few in-game days for the workers to slowly settle. If you can see here, we are at a deficit of this amount of workers. If you speed up the game, you will notice that numbers start to shrink as more townsfolk are settling in. More productions means more townsfolk, which also means more food to sustain them. Not having enough food for your town will result in famine and slowed productions. Now that we have our first trader ready, we can plan his route so that he may automatically trade from town to town. Since we made a trade alliance with Ankara, we are free to trade with them. Our trader will collect lumber, bricks, grain, fruit, and honey from our town Bursa, while then selling them to Ankara, while also collecting their resources and bringing them to us. The automatic trade route makes it so that the town of Bursa is supported by resources we don't yet manufacture ourselves. Now let's get into the meat of the trading game. I have a chart here of all the available commodities in the game. I went ahead and labeled each commodity by a letter of the alphabet. In this particular example I show, we have a variety of cities that manufacture their own commodities due to their geographical location. Shroker is a city that operates by a harbor, therefore they can harvest fish, which is foxtrot on the chart, as well as salt, which I've labeled as lima. Since Shroker needs grain to manufacture their brew, the trader collects Charlie from Sofia and brings it back to Shroker in order to produce November. Since Shroker has direct trade relations with Sofia and Tirana, the town is collecting all resources manufactured from these other towns and vice versa, since all the towns have their own trader. Since there are a total of 3 traders assigned on each town that collects from 2 of their neighbor towns, the towns of Shroker, Sofia, and Tirana are all getting a ×3 resource collection for their supply. In Sofia, for example, we are producing ingots, which is a commodity needed to craft tools so long as coal is also accounted for. So in essence, the traders are bringing India to Tirana so they may manufacture Quebec from their supply of India from trading, as well as their supply from manufactured resource Gulf. This is what I like to call a perfect commerce triangle. All 3 of these towns have emerged to powerful cities because they are collecting all resources they need to be sustainable and economically efficient. These economically efficient cities are great places to house your troops and should be defended from attackers, as they are your more valuable settlements in your empire. If you now notice, there are neighbor towns which also produce their own supply. The town of Lora produces wine, while the town of Thessaloniki produces meat and pastries, which aren't produced in our triangle. However, these commodities are considered to be supplemental cash crops rather than staple commodities we have in our perfect triangle. The towns of Lora and Thessaloniki both share a mutual trade partner, Tirana, which collects stock of Papa, Romeo, and Echo. Since Shroker and Sofia aren't direct trade partners with Vlora and Thessaloniki, these 2 towns collect Echo, Papa, and Romeo from Tirana. This is what I like to call a secondary supply chain, which makes stable settlements even more economically efficient by collecting outside commodities not directly associated with them. Getting back to our new file, we have to create new towns so we can establish these kinds of trade lines. The special unit settler can be made in the inn from having ample resources. 1 settler can be made for every town you have created. Once the settler is chosen, he can go to anywhere on the map that's accessible by ground. Building new towns close to each other is a great strategy to use due to the shorter distance we require from our traders. As we build new settlements, we want to keep their geographic locations in mind. Remember that a settlement cannot be sustainable on its own. It needs trading from its neighbor towns so it may become efficient. Now that we created a town that isn't directly on a roadway, we have to build a road. This is where the special unit building squad comes into play. Thanks to the building squad, we can create new roads, as well as upgrade existing roadways for faster trade routes. The building squad has 3 distinct features. We are able to build roads regularly by selecting the first option. Once a roadway has already been constructed, we can upgrade the same road a total of 2 more times. When stacked with the fast trading points in the skill tree, level 3 roadways are essential for a prominent and economically efficient empire. There will be a lot of roads, so it will come out to be quite costly. The builder uses resources from your nearest town when upgrading roadways. The builder's third feature is the ability to build archer towers. These towers will not work if an archer is not manually put inside of it. Archer towers are great for automatically defending your traders from free-roam enemies, including bandits and predators. Let's take a dive in the development skill tree. Upon starting, I highly recommend investing your initial skill points into the production and infrastructure tree. Points in production will increase speeds of certain commodities and can double or even triple production in the time it would regularly take just for one production cycle. The production tree also unlocks commodities you can use such as tools, pastries, brews, pottery, clothing, meat, and jewelry. The infrastructure tree is important for all having to do with trade and stock efficiency. Over here we can increase trade speeds and even make it so that new settlements come equipped with their own starter supply of building commodities. Investing in this tree will also unlock the warehouse to store goods as well as other structures like the construction tower, which increases build speed, as well as housing supplements. An upgraded chaplain monastery. The military tree isn't needed right away, but over here we can invest our points to introduce new troop types. Having the swordsmen along with cavalry and mounted archers would be staples to your militia. There are also specialist troop types that can only be constructed in their own exclusive regions of the map. I mostly stayed in Byzantium and Italy with minor towns in France, so I was able to use the crossbowmen, saber warriors, as well as the knights. Upon reaching the rank of Emperor, you will have unlocked all points needed for all the skills in the game. As you continue your economic efficiency and increase population in your towns, you can upgrade your military to new sects, such as Imperialists. This will make your army even stronger. Now that we have a more stable economy on our new file, I'm going to go ahead and start building the barracks. Once you purchase the needed skills in the military tree, you can buy 3 barrack extensions. These include drill grounds, which allows you to make ranged fighters as well as intermediate level staples for your militia. The Rider Academy allows you to integrate troops on horseback. These troops include other staples such as scout building for land navigation, as well as cavalry and mounted archer units for your army. The third extension can only be built on a harbor. This is known as the shipyard. With the shipyard, ocean navigation can be made possible. We can build naval battle units known as the Dhow and the Nau. We can also build a special unit equivalent to the Settler, but this time on water. This special unit is known as the colony ship. Our Nau is the fastest and most powerful naval unit. With it, we can discover areas rather quickly, while also defending and attacking pirates. Using our colony ship, we can access parts of the world we couldn't otherwise access on land. This special unit allows us to set anchor and construct a new town that harbors the ocean. From here, we can begin the immediate expansion of a new region in the world. As you can see here, I've discovered land in the Middle East with my colony ship. I then went ahead and established 2 harbor towns and began my expansion process. I was able to make the perfect commerce triangle with the first 3 towns I founded, and they grew into sustainable cities. Now I'm going to go into recommended troop types for war and starting sieges with opposed competitors. Having a large military will be your main concern. For military takeovers in general, you'll want a couple dozen of trebuchet fighters under your employ, as they will be the ones directly attacking the opposed town. Ranged fighters also deal damage to the base, and they also take out enemy troops as they come towards your general vicinity. I mainly recommend using mounted archers due to their increased mobility and speed. Unfortunately, cavalry units, swordsmen, and other melee fighters don't actually infiltrate a town during a siege. They just set up camp and wait to take out opposing forces as they appear on the map. As I mentioned earlier in the video, after reaching a certain population while being the rank of Emperor, you can equip permanent bonuses which increase both the wages and the strength of your troops. In order to turn an existing allied or neutral competitor into an enemy, we must reduce from the diplomatic relationship affinity. Downgrading all possible alliances will do just that, and we can then declare war upon the competitor's nation.
No more trade. At least we have our transit agreement. No more agreement. I hope you're not planning to assault me. War? Who are you in cahoots with?
Once war is declared on the competitor, we can immediately begin to siege over their towns with our armed forces.
Let's go.
This is a less guarded town since it has no protective walls or arch towers. As the town is under siege, enemy troops will come out into battle. If your forces ever start to diminish during a siege, you could always build troops while also fighting. The larger your army, the larger value your blue value will be, which in turn will make for a faster military takeover. Upon taking over a competitor's town through military force, you can then go ahead and proceed to take over the remainder of their settlements if you have enough power with your army. Once you have taken over the last of your competitor's settlements, you will have the option to sentence them to death or permanently exile them from the land. After you choose either option, you will have successfully eliminated the competitor from the game. Now that you have a strong understanding of how this game works, you're ready to build your new empire and be a mighty ruler. This game doesn't really end, so once you have the general principles, it's all a matter of repeat grinding to get to where you want to be. In the open world, opposing competitors will wage wars against you, while you also conquer towns of your choosing. It's a non-stop cycle of commerce and takeover. If you folks loved watching this video, go ahead and hit that red subscribe button and stay tuned for more Neg 96 content. This video will be all I'm covering for this game in terms of the how-to. If I may have missed anything important, be sure to leave it down in the comments section so other players can be aware of the issues. All in all, thanks for coming by and take care.